Okay.
I'm excited for this Sunday. I have another open house in Allendale.
And how did you get that?
Douglas just reached out to me and said, are you available to host an open house?
What I want you all to do, you can do an MLS search and you can check by listing office or listing agent. Either way, under additional search, you do a primary search and in the lower right-hand corner of that search box, you can search additional criteria. And one of the things that you can search is listing agent or listing office. Now, you know who has the listings in our office, a lot of listings. Welcome, Cheryl. And then reach out to them. It's a lesson in being very proactive in your career. Okay.
Good idea. Okay, I'll do that.
You should be in the MLS at least once a day, preferably 2 or 3 times a day, with particular focus on your geographic area, and certainly any neighborhoods where you have a sphere of influence people living. So the MLS is really, really important for you to know your product. That's your product, guys. You don't go to a computer company or Best Buy or any of those and not know the product. So that's your product. Also, I'm going to encourage you to know the team of which you are a part. And that's not only the KW agents, but it's the Carnegie Home and Auto. It's Carnegie Title, and it's our mortgage partners. You have people who are going to work very hard to help you get your clients to closing, whether that's buyers or sellers. Okay. Everybody good?
Exciting.
Yep.
Yeah. Out of the interest for those of you who are on time, it's 5 after 6. I'm going to proceed and I'm going to share my screen. And this is a new and this is a new, I got a lot of things open, sorry guys. New web link, and the reason I like it is because we won't have to log off, okay? We won't have to log off after 40 or 35 minutes. So let's go through what the process is when you get the opportunity to do an open house, okay? Step 1 is prep. Now, prepare or educate the seller if you are the listing agent. If you're not, you might just confirm these things with the listing agent. Is the house sparkling and uncluttered? Is the seller aware of that the house will be open, what the hours will be, and that they need not be there? Do you all understand why we prefer the sellers not be there?
It can make the buyers uncomfortable, like they're a guest of someone's home instead of potentially purchasing that home.
Perfect answer. Yeah, they won't see the house as theirs if the current owner is there. Number 2, you can't get them to tell you what they don't like about the house because they don't want to insult the seller. People are very sensitive, and it's surprising. The buyers don't want to hurt the seller's feelings. So you want to make sure the seller is not there, whether it's an open house or showing. Sometimes with showings, you can't help it because of the hour of the day, especially now with homeschooling and COVID and people working from home. But you do your best to make sure the homeowner is not there or is in a room, one room, as opposed to all over the house. I'm sorry. Okay. All lights need to be on. If there's a music system, have soft music on. If it is cold, ask the seller to put on the fireplace. Particularly if it's a gas one. If it's a wood burning, that's a little difficult. Make sure the blinds are up and the curtains open, unless there's a reason you don't want the buyers looking out, okay? But make the house light and bright. Remove pets and hide or at least clean the litter box. Yeah, guys, sometimes we do things for our sellers or for the opportunity. I mean, if you are hosting the listing for someone else and there's a smelly litter box, it behooves you to do something about that. Because you don't want to lose potential buyers who may be yours from buying this house because it smells. Okay. If it's summer, make sure the lawn is moved, the brush mowed, the bushes are trimmed, and in the winter, all the walks are clear and ice free. In the fall, leaves cleared. I happen to keep a snow shovel in my car. If I ever had to, or a small broom, whatever, you know, if there's an inch of snow, that can track in a lot of messiness.
Yes.
But if you go and you can broom clean the walkway, or if it's a little deeper to shovel it, we do that. Now, you ask the listing agent to make sure, but if by chance it's your listing and it's vacant and you show up and we've had some snow like we did this morning, you don't want to have a problem. One of the things, yes.
I had a quick, just a comment and question in regards to, you know, tracking dirt and coming to people's homes. So the one thing that Allison, who helped me set up for the open house this weekend, she told me make sure to put one of the dining room chairs near the front door, so that way those putting on the booty covers could put on the booty covers without a problem, because you never know people's physical, you know, constraints.
Excellent.
And I didn't know, or I didn't wasn't told that I needed to bring little shoe covers. They're called booties. And so she made sure I had a booty box, and I brought my own shoe covers because the listing agent did not provide that.
Okay.
So that's just something to think about.
Know that those shoe covers are slippery on stairs. Just know that.
Yes.
Okay, so you
And
want to
was
be
fell.
careful. Yeah, you want to be careful, and but yeah, you are co-liable if there's ever a problem, because you have the ability to take some measures to prevent someone from hurting themselves. So what I would do is bring like a throw rug. Some people will bring like a big beach towel. The only thing with a big beach towel, you can kind of get your feet caught in it, but it allows people to wipe their feet and get them dry before they walk in the house or put on booty. Okay. Make sure that the jewelry, cameras, money, and medications are hidden and not in the top drawer, because that's the first place someone will look. Occasionally, when we have someone visit an open house, their intentions are not pure. So we have to make sure, an ounce of prevention, you know, you've heard that. So just make sure jewelry, cameras, money, medications, and any guns. Now, this would be the listing agent's responsibility. Make sure that stuff is put away and hidden. You know, and consider staging at least one area, maybe the dining area. Again, this is the listing agent, but you'll have a conversation with the listing agent about this. Now, why do you do an open house, by the way?
Get buyers.
To get buyers, yep, because you know if they're out there
represent.
looking. Why else?
To see how people are doing things, so you can do it similarly or better, see what works for you.
Well, that would be if you're going around and visiting open houses, but if you're hosting an open house, why would you do that? It's prime personal time on a Sunday or Saturday afternoon. Why do you do that? Well, yes, you want to expose the listing, because, and we're going to take a little minute here, and we're going to do a little real estate 101. You as a host want to get buyers. The listing agent wants to get the house exposed and sold. And sometimes if it is on a street that takes some traffic, and I never want to hear any of you say busy street ever again in your real estate lives, okay? Because busy street is loaded with judgment. And as soon as you say something that's loaded with judgment, trust me, your buyer picks up on it. What's a better word or words that says a street that, well, I'll tell you, takes some traffic at certain times of the day? Don't say busy. Do you see the difference? Do you get a different feeling when I say, hey, it takes some traffic at certain times of the day? Because many of our streets might have some traffic in the morning and then some traffic in the afternoon. Do you all agree?
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, let's take a moment. If it is on a street that takes some traffic, what are the major objections?
You might
I'd
have
say
little
yourself.
kids.
Huh?
You might have little kids that, are gonna get exposed to that traffic.
Okay, so you're talking safety, Dylan,
Yeah.
right? Okay. All right, so are there any other concerns?
Noise.
Noise? Okay.
Pollution, more pollution.
Okay, pollution.
I mean, I would be most concerned about getting in and out of the driveway if it was a busy street.
Okay. So could that also mean parking, Laura?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
That one's not closing.
Okay. Now, notice what I did. I took all of your objections before I'm even attempting to handle them. And that's what you're going to do with your buyer. Every buyer you work with is going to say, when you ask them the needs analysis, number of bedrooms, any special needs, blah, blah, blah. You've all read the needs analysis in Ignite. They're all going to say no busy street. The average realtor, of which I hope none of you are, will say, okay, writes that down, no busy street, anything else. You, on the other hand, are going to turn to the buyer and say, oh, let me ask you, what about a street that takes some traffic? Notice I didn't say busy, concerns you. And then you write it down like I did, and they'll all fit into these categories: safety, pollution, noise, driveway access or parking, privacy, okay? It'll fit any of those. So you keep asking, is there anything else? Is there anything else? That's called isolating the objection. And you don't overcome an objection until you isolated all the ones you have to overcome. Now, once you've gotten all their objections, what would be some solutions? Now, you guys have eyes and you drive around all the time and you see houses on streets that take some traffic. Do you not? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so
All the time.
all of these people, by the way, probably 90% said, I don't want to live on a street that's busy. Correct? Don't you think? But somehow they made the transition with the help of a good realtor. So how would you overcome a concern for safety?
You'd probably try to get a fence or something like that.
Yeah. Some of the houses, depending on where they are, you can fence the front yard too. You can fence the entire thing. I've also seen some where they just fence the driveway.
Yeah.
So that the kids on bikes or scooters or whatever they're on, sure. I want you to start looking as you drive around to see how people have overcome their concerns. Okay.
Well, I live on a busy street, and I could say definitely the positive is you're very close to everything. Like I'm very close to town. I'm very close to the highways. So I enjoy that aspect of it. And I love that everybody can see my house. Everyone can see my pretty house from that busy street.
Let's face it, every street, every neighborhood, every town has multiple houses that really are the showcases. Let's face it. And it's nice. Good for you, Laura. Good. So it's nice. You feel, hey, and an added bonus is if we have inclement weather, your road is clear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, pollution. Pollution's a little more difficult. I might approach that with noise. How would you overcome noise and privacy? Noise, privacy, and pollution kind of go together.
Well, with noise, it's only during certain times of day. It's not like in the evenings, it's going to be
Okay.
a lot of activity near you.
Yeah, and
Generally
what you can
speaking.
always do is tell your buyer, say, why don't you go park across the street or wherever during the times that you feel will take the most traffic, therefore create the most noise, and tell me what you think. Now, when you're showing a house and they're saying, I'm concerned about the noise or privacy, it's important to point out, say, let me ask you, do you hear anything? Do you hear anything? Most of the time they'll say no. Oh my God. Couple ways that a home can be protected against noise, given some privacy, is have you ever gone by a house that, number one, has a circular driveway or has a whole bunch of shrubs in front of the house?
Yes.
Okay, on top of a mound of dirt. That mound of dirt is called a berm. And the shrubs, usually evergreens for obvious reasons, are between the street and the house. That protects them against noise, protects them against pollution, and protects for privacy.
Oh.
Yeah, think about it. Another thing, look at the floor plan. Most of the rooms that someone will inhabit are in the back, right? The family room, the kitchen, yes? What's in front are the entertainment rooms where they're probably making more noise than the road. Drill down to details, guys. Do you think that makes sense?
Absolutely.
A lot.
What about those houses that have a long driveway? Do you think that insulates for sound, gives them a little more privacy? And by the way, Laura, gives them additional parking places, as does a circular driveway. And a circular driveway or a driveway with a turnaround so that they're coming out front first, makes a big difference. Let's talk about parking. Someone will say, you know, it's on a street that takes some traffic. They'll usually use the word busy, and we entertain. And so how would you handle that? Remember I said drill down to the details. How would you handle that? What are the questions you'll ask?
Well, how often do you have a lot of
Perfect.
guests?
How often do you entertain? Well, I entertain probably 6 times a year. Okay, what's the next question?
How many people?
How many cars? How many cars? Well, there might be as many as 8. 8 cars, okay. Okay. Now you start to overcome it. Are they on the corner? Are they on a corner lot? Are they maybe a house away from a side street? Is it a long driveway? Is it a circular driveway? See what I mean?
Mhm.
That's how you can overcome. You don't just write down no busy street. I want you to be salesperson. What about being on a street that takes some traffic, concerns you? Listen to, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Then start to overcome the objection. Okay. I find that extremely important. All right, let's look at realtor prep.
Patty,
What
can I
do you-
just interject for a
Sure.
second? I had an objection that was said to me at the open house last Sunday. And the man said, the house is on a slope on a busy street. The fact that it's not a flat surface, the home itself. I was a little taken aback by that statement because I'm like, what is, the house inside is not slanted.
Well, but is the property slanted?
Only the front yard. That's it. The backyard is perfectly level. I was
And is
so
it
confused.
slanted towards the road or towards the house?
Towards the road.
Towards the road, so the house is up above the road.
Yes, yep, it's above the road.
Wow, so what some good points do you see there, guys? Help me out.
Not as
Well,
much
I see
noise.
that it's not a flood, it's less
Yeah,
likely
no
to
flood.
flood.
Well, yeah, flood is an extreme. I wouldn't go there because then you plant a seed.
That's
Um,
true.
Laura?
I was thinking flood too, that there's no floods up there.
Yeah, I'm
would think
thinking more
noise.
when a house is elevated and kind of looks down on the road, you get a little more privacy.
Ooh,
Everybody likes to look down. They don't like to look down upon. So for many people, that's a real plus. Ask him, however, what about the slanting property is a concern for you? Because you see, we're overcoming an objection. We don't really know what the objection is. We know what the symptom is.
Yeah. It's a pain in the butt to mow that lawn when it's slanted like that. But other than that, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, hire somebody.
Mhm.
Okay.
Snow plowing,
Okay.
maybe.
Make sure that you understand every facet of the house. If you have never seen the house, ask to go there with the listing agent to learn. Know when updates have been completed. Is it septic or sewer, well or public water? Any easements? Take notes and get a copy of the seller disclosure and study it. Now, you don't have to memorize it, guys, but you should be able to say, you know what? I remember reading something about that on the seller disclosure. Let me look at it. Preview other homes for sale in the neighborhood and be knowledgeable about them also. Chances there are good that at least one visitor will ask you about another house. Wouldn't it make you look good if you could say you'd seen it? Now, in this COVID era, that makes it a little harder for you. But what I want you to do is a CMA on the property. Use the house that you're going to be sitting for the open house, the subject property, and do a market analysis. You should have 3 to 5 actives, 3 to 5 under contract, and 3 to 5 sold. All right, and I would go back for a year only because this has a different purpose than a market analysis for pricing a home. This would be so
Okay.
that you could answer the questions of someone coming. All right, bring it with you and put it to the side. You don't have to memorize it. You can just pull it out and say, you know what, I did a study of the property, and the market in regards to this property. Let's look at, what I went through. That make sense?
Mhm.
A lot.
Put the house on as many websites as you can, Facebook about it, any blogs. Now, the listing agent would have to do Realtor, NJMLS and Realtor.com if they have it, okay?
So what
Um,
about an open house that is being listed? And for example, the one I'm doing on Sunday, it's only been, the owner has only owned it for a year. And
Okay.
part of the questions I received in the last open house, they're saying, why are they moving? I mean,
You know what? What difference does that make?
that's why I was so confused. Like, are you less
People are
likely to
nosy,
buy
and
it?
that's a nosy question. It's also a
Okay.
question as to whether there's any leverage. Is there a divorce? Is there financial
Okay.
problems? And they're asking that question to give themselves an advantage. Quite frankly, don't even give the question attention, other than to say, I don't know.
I said, I don't know. I'm not the listing agent. I'm more than happy to help
And
you.
then move on to something else. Don't even make that second sentence.
Well,
Move
I
on.
was saying I can help you look around the place or point out something in the home.
So you know what I have
Just-
here? I have, they filled out the seller disclosure. Is there anything in particular that you're interested in or concerned about?
It makes sense.
Right, move it on, move it on. Put the house on as many websites and you know how you see the sign riders that say open Sunday? Make sure that's on probably the Wednesday before. Open Sunday 1 to 4. Either the listing agent will do it, or if it's your listing, get it done. Because people driving back and forth are going to see that. And that's great advertisement. Find out if the town will allow you to use directional signs and if there are any rules about where they can be placed. Now, because that's your responsibility, by the way. You can ask the listing agent, you can call the town. Notice I have a little note there that says note cards. Obviously, this is all done early. You go out, when you preview the house or you do a drive-by, you're also saying to yourself, where can I put the directional signs? Where can I put the directional signs? And then when you go to put the directional signs out, you should be doing this by 12:30 for a 1 o'clock open. You're going to have created some note cards that say, I'm sorry I missed you. I hope you don't mind, but I'm taking the liberty of putting a directional sign on your property. I am hosting an open house at 123 Main Street till 4 o'clock. Please come see me. I will remove my sign as soon after that open house as I can. Now, if you are that homeowner, are you impressed with that agent?
Yes.
You're going to put your business card in it so that if they needed to call you. All right, so find out if the town will allow you directional signs. If you knock on the door and they answer, then you ask, I'm doing an open house, 123 Main Street. May I put a directional sign on the corner of your property? I promise to remove it as soon after 4 o'clock as I can. Impressive?
On my street, they put directional signs on my house all the time, and it makes me mad. Nobody's ever asked me. If they had asked me, I honestly wouldn't care.
I know. So you see your reaction, you don't want that reaction. Plus, it's you're prospecting. You're doing your job for the open house into a prospecting act. And this should all be done by 12:30. Learn about the town, the schools, where are the schools, where's the shopping, what's the New York commute, recent sales in the neighborhood, KW, your KW app will help you with some of these. Recent sales in the neighborhood, you just did the CMA, and you can do the website for the town. So you've got all of these resources to help you be able to answer some of those questions. Print up an attractive flyer. It says here, consider preparing a CD. I think that's over the top. I wouldn't do that. But I would definitely print out customer copies, make sure your name is on it. I would get mortgage information, warranty information, anything that looks pretty and is real estate related. Now, you want to have the guests register right now in COVID times, they got to sign up in case we have contact tracing. There's Open House Pro, it's an app, that's a good one.
Yeah. I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yes, so we just got the cargo for moving.
So,
And,
all right, everybody good?
Patty, I have a question.
Today.
Somebody needs to mute themselves if there's some background noise.
Cargo.
Okay, who has a
Um,
question?
So my question is, as far as the signage goes, now we obviously have to have our own signs put outside the house.
Uh-huh.
How many of the directional signs do we need to have?
Depends on the location of the house. That's why you've got to do a drive-by. Some houses you can get away with one.
Do we buy those?
Yes, you should. I'm
Okay,
going to refer you guys. It's amazing. Some of these questions, and you need to go to things to do while you wait for your license to
right.
come through. And then once it does, all these questions are answered. You're going to want to get directional signs. Yep.
I guess I was asking, I think my question was more how many is like a good
It
amount to
depends on
have.
the house. Depends on the house. I've seen some where they've had to put 5. Or
Okay.
sometimes you'll bring people in 2 different directions, depending.
Okay, that was more my question, how many?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Make sure you find out, create, sometimes you can do special feature cards. Do it with the permission of the listing agent or the seller. And use blue painter's tape where you say, don't miss, the yard goes beyond the fence, that kind of stuff, okay? Because you might get really busy and might not be able to point out all the features of the house. And definitely if you're the listing agent, I believe wholeheartedly in special feature cards, pointing out things that other realtors may miss. Make sure you find out if there are other open houses in the immediate area and a little bit about each one of those. You might even consider preparing a list of other open houses and offer that to people who come. Say, by the way, as long as you came here, here's a list of other open houses in the neighborhood. Is that coming from contribution? Yeah, you're servicing them. And if you give them the service they want, that's creating glue. Okay, now here it says door knock or call a minimum of 25 homes in the area within 72 hours before the open house. In many of our towns, you can't knock. It's against the law. We have no knock laws. I think the best thing to do is to invite via a postcard or a mailer. And I think if you can do 50 to 75, okay. Just make sure the invite arrives on Friday and not the day after the open house. Okay.
What about door knockers, the ones that hang on the door? Is that considered the same as,
Yeah, I like
it's
it.
like, you're allowed to do those?
The only issue with the door knob thing is, how many of you use your front door?
Never.
That's the problem. I know I use my back door. So would I see something hanging on my front door? Might not. And obviously don't walk around to somebody's backyard. But I like those. I think they're great. Be on time, and that means you are at the house at least 15 minutes before the start time so that you can be all set up and ready if someone walks through the door at 1 o'clock. Let me tell you what happened to me. One of my first open houses, I arrived at 1 o'clock. Someone came early and left, and then turned around, and bought the house from someone else.
Oh,
Don't
no.
let that happen to you, okay? So your signs should be all out by 12:30. Drive to the house, get in, turn on the lights, lift the blinds, put on some nice music, whatever. I'm going to tell you to minimize your conversation if the seller is still there. Sometimes they're still there and they'll leave as you come in. Minimize your conversation. Remember, you're not the listing agent unless you are. All right, be ready to give the basic information about the house, number of bedrooms, baths, taxes, which is the high school. Okay. Be prepared for the open house to run overtime. So don't make an appointment for 4:15. And just an idea, what you can do is hold a special open house for the neighbors from 12 to 1. And then the house is open from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. So that would move up your time schedule for putting out the signs and getting the house ready. Okay, have a few goals when you do an open house. Getting the house sold is priority 1. It's also to meet potential buyers and sellers and impress them enough for them to like you and call you. But you're going to follow up. Nobody, I hate it when people will say, oh, all we got were nosy neighbors at the open house. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Did you just look opportunity in the eye and not see it? Nobody takes good personal time on a Sunday afternoon to come and look at their neighbor's house unless they too are thinking at some time in the future of selling.
I've only looked at my neighbors' houses if I'm looking for a friend who's looking for a house. You know what I mean? Like I'll
Yep.
only go in and take the time if I'm like, oh, I know so-and-so is looking, so I'm gonna look at this and let her know.
Yep, there you go. There's another reason. Also, guys, sometimes there are neighbors who are coming to interview you. They're not going to tell you they're interviewing you, but they're seeing how you conduct the open house. Do you stand up when people come in? Do you greet everybody? Is the house prepared nicely? Do you have nice handouts? Yeah, so understand, you want to meet buyers, but you have the potential to meet future sellers. There's no such thing as a nosy neighbor, and you will stay in touch with everyone. You'll put them in command. Get people, and nowadays they don't mind signing in.
I have a two-part question.
Who's asking?
Sorry, this is Stella. I have a two-part question. For question number 1, what about the buyers that come in, which is that they say they have an agent. They may or may not have an agent because the agent's not with them. Maybe they're just saying that because they don't want to be bothered.
That's possible. Have them put the agent's name down. They'll tell you why. If you are not the listing agent may want to call that agent and say, what was the feedback? Okay. And if you are
Got
the
it.
listing agent, you want to be able to call that agent and say, what did they think? Your people came to my open house. What did they think? Okay.
So they should be signing both the COVID form and a check-in form?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, see, that's what was missing.
You want to have their information. You want a cell phone, email, whatever you can get. And remember, okay, I jump ahead of myself, but you want to establish yourself as the local expert and to impress the sellers that you're doing everything possible to market the property. Okay. All right, what to bring with you? Written really kind of, but it works. Flashlight, broom, shovel, large towel, Windex, paper towels, 3x5 cards, note cards, a Sharpie, painter's tape, tape measure. Yeah. You understand all that stuff? Flashlights, because sometimes you'll go down in the basement and there's a bulb that's out. By the way, let me just mention something to you about safety while we're talking about basements. If this applies more to women than men, but not exclusively. If you're doing an open house and you're alone, which more and more people are teaming up, and someone comes in and you just feel an uneasiness in your gut, I want you to pay attention to your gut and maybe reach out to a friend and say, come on over. You can excuse yourself however you do it. And just say, I'm at this open house at 123 Main Street. Somebody just walked in. I just feel uncomfortable. Obviously, you don't want them to hear that. It's always good to have someone ready, a family member or something, and just check in with you if you're doing an open house alone. Check in with you every half hour and just say, how you doing? Everything okay? And also to have some sort of an alert system that if you texted somebody star 13, it means I'm in trouble. Okay, come on over, call the police, 911. It's rare, it's very rare that agents are compromised or attacked at an open house, but it can happen, guys. And I always say when you are showing a room, a house, whatever, you should be closest to the exit. So although you might think you go down the basement steps first, you already have all the lights on, right? Because you set up the house. The client goes down there first. All right. And then you stay between the stairs and the client. All right. Good. So anyway, flashlight, broom, if you have to do whatever, shovel, paper towels. The note cards are for the special feature cards. You can just use a Sharpie, say don't miss, and put up painter's tape. Okay, so we went over signs already, copies of your flyer. If you have a brochure, that'd be great. Everything that you have out should have your name on it. If you run out of something, that's not a big problem, because then you're going to say, well, if you're really interested, please give me, make sure I have your email or your cell phone. Now make sure you get everything that I have here. Customer copies of the MLS with your listing on it. Have a guest register or Open House Pro. Have pens if you're using paper. In the day of COVID, make sure you have lots of pens, and ask everybody to keep the pen. All right, not a bad idea to order pens with your names on them. Okay. Your business cards, mortgage information, make sure you have the consumer information statement, dual agency, COVID, and affiliated business arrangements. So there's 2 more there. Okay, so add COVID and affiliated business arrangement, because we own a title company and buyers use title companies. Okay, if you have a personal brochure or resume, don't worry about it if you don't, because they're interested in the house, not you, quite frankly. And if you have any giveaways, market stats. Now, Stephanie just posted on the kwvalley.info our market stats, comparing our market center to the MLS regarding list price, sale price ratios, and days on the market. That is powerful stuff. You should make sure everyone you work with, buyers, sellers, open houses, that is part of what you give them. You can have cards offering a free market analysis. That's kind of old school, but it still does work. And make sure it says that your keypad is updated. Make sure that your app is working so that you can get in the house. You have to be a member of the MLS in order to do an open house, because you've got to get in the house. You've got to make sure you have the app on your phone, right? And you've got to be able to follow up on interested buyers who might not like that house, but want something else. Be sure to give yourselves bring a snack. All right, and if it's a vacant house, bring a chair. All right, but do not eat or drink in front of people, tacky. And do not take any of the seller's food or drink. I don't believe we have to say that, but nonetheless. All right, and, all right, when a car pulls up, greet people warmly and with a smile, but don't pounce on them. Introduce yourself, your name and your company, and you don't have to give your last name. Hi, it's Patty with Keller Williams. You know, the less you tell them, the more they'll remember. Tell them that you're there to answer any questions they may have without sounding like you're interrogating them. Make it conversational. What brought you here? You want to know, is it the sign? Did they see it through the MLS? We don't do newspaper ads anymore, really, but we do the MLS, social media. And by the way, your social media Facebook page, why not invite all your friends? Even if you don't yet have a Facebook business page, you can still do it on your personal page. Hey, come see me at this great, fabulous ranch style home on 123 Main Street in Mahwah. Okay. Ask the customer, are you familiar with the neighborhood? Are you familiar with the area? Don't forget your KW app. Don't forget how you can do a neighborhood nurture and you can explain to the clients, remember like we did last week? The neighborhood nurture where you could send them hyper local information just regarding this neighborhood. All you need is their email, preferably email, but you can also do it on a cell phone, on their cell number. Okay. And at the end, ask them, did you like the house? What did you like about it? What are your concerns? And if they say they don't like the house, say, well, what does your ideal home look like? See, now you're trying to see if you can help them buy a home. Let them describe, you know, God gave us one mouth, two ears. Take the hint. Ask questions and then listen. If you know of another home that might suit them, bring it up. Remember, you did the CMA. So you've got some area information. And if you can't think of another home, ask them if they would like for you to send them homes that would be suitable for their needs. Come from a service orientation. Always thank people for coming and ask if there are any other questions, even if they're rude to you, be nice. When somebody's rude to you, sometimes what does that mean? What's behind rudeness and ill behavior?
They're scared or on guard.
Yeah. So if someone starts to be rude, they're afraid of you. They're afraid that you're going to put them in a corner. So relax them. Make them like you. If they don't like you, they're not going to work with you. And let me see. Okay, open house follow-up. Make sure that the house is properly locked up. The way you found it is the way you want to leave it. You want to go through the house, turn off the lights, close the curtains or blinds, that you make sure the back doors are locked if they were locked when you got there. Pay attention to the door between the garage and the house. Was that locked or unlocked? Just be sure you leave it the way you found it, or the way sometimes the seller will say, leave all the lights on, we'll be back. Okay. But make sure it looks the same as when you arrived. If you opened blinds, close them. If you were told to either leave all the lights on or turn them off, do it. Immediately call the listing agent with a report of how many people attended, which realtors sent clients, blah, blah, blah. The sellers have just left their house for at least 3 hours. You think they're anxious to know what happened? You think they're anxious to know how many people came?
Absolutely.
Were any of those people interested? All right. Because the listing agent will need to call the sellers right away and let them know how it went. And you need to supply them with this information as soon as possible. If your open house is finished, I mean, a great way is call on your way home, call from the car. If the sellers come home before you leave and it is not your listing, it is not your place to give any information other than how many people came and what the general feedback was. All right, let me tell you a real story. This is a real story. I was relatively new in the business, and I remember one of my coworkers who tended to be kind of excitable, shall we say, and someone had shown one of her listings, and the seller kind of cornered the agent and said, what did your buyers think? And what did you think of the house? What do you think of the price? And in an attempt to kind of abort the conversation and move on, the agent said, oh, I think it's fine. It's fine. Was that the right thing for that agent to say? No.
No.
Exactly. The listing agent had been working for days to get a price reduction. So as soon as this agent, meaning no harm, answered the question, oh, it's fine, to what do you think of the price? The seller called their listing agent and said, well, maybe I should go list with so-and-so. She thinks my price is okay. Yeah. Is that a situation you want to get in? No. So be very careful. If somebody says, what do you think about the price? You refer them back to the listing agent. Say, that's not for me to discuss, you whoever. Never say anything the least bit negative about the listing agent. Do I have to even say that? Okay, follow up with any clients who do not have realtors. A thank you note, a phone call, an email, and they go out within 24 hours. If you're following up on a Sunday open house on a Thursday, not good. Okay. And I feel everybody should get 2 calls and a note or an email. Handwritten notes, guys, with your business cards in it. It's okay if they already got it in business card from you at the house. Give them another. And if you have emails for the clients, put them on an 8x8. That's a type of smart plan that you put them in command, put them on a smart plan. All right. And if you follow all the advice in the class, you will be a success. So I think that's it, guys. Oh, here we go. Here is a script. Hi, how are you? I'm Patty. When they come through the end, by the way, I would take them through the house. I know you see it on HGTV where it's, okay, I'll be down here, go look at the second floor and then come on down and tell me what you think. I don't want that to be you. I want you to be with them. You don't know whether they're rifling through the drawers or the medicine cabinet or anything. You be with them. Occasionally, they'll split up, try to keep them together. And you can explain, say, you know what? I can appreciate you want to cover a lot of territory, but I'm sure if one of you has a question, the other one does too. And it's important that both of you get the answer. Okay, does that sound reasonable and unoffensive? That someone would be comfortable with that? All right, and ask them, do you have a house to sell? Are you local? I have a list of buyers who I'm in the process of looking for homes. All right, so all this, what do you think of the price? Is this the neighborhood right for you? Do you like the decorating? Forget the decorating, because coat of paint costs not much money. If you've been trying to tell the sellers to do something like remove the wallpaper, ask the buyer, what do you think of the wallpaper? Be careful doing that. I wouldn't do that. Don't point it out. That would be more for the listing agent, not for you. Okay. But, all right, do you think you can do a pretty effective open house? See, you're going to be taking prime time, prime personal time, a Saturday or Sunday. And yes, you can do open houses on Saturdays. And sitting in open house. You want to make it work for you. You want to, at the end of that day, have people you can follow up with. And you want, if it's not your open house, for the seller to be pleased that they were taken care of. Questions?
Patty, I have a
Yes.
question.
Stacy, I didn't see you on. Okay.
In this day and age of technology, right? You know how homeowners have cameras all over?
Good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
How do you address that before doing an open house?
Well, we don't always know that they have cameras. Always act as if you know there are cameras. Okay. Are you referring to whether we should tell the buyers there are cameras, the visitors whether there are cameras?
If they ask any questions that, that you may want to answer, but again, you don't know if it's appropriate or not.
Like what?
I don't like this aspect of this house or something negative to the, if they say
Oh,
something.
that's okay. That's going to happen. Then you just say, well, what about that as a concern? Why would that create a problem for you? And help them overcome the objection. No seller is going to mind if you help to bring out an objection that you then help them problem solve around. No house is perfect. None. So if they say, well, gee, I really don't like the color of the paint, well, that's easy. How much do you think a paint can cost? You know, or, yeah, gee, I really wanted an open floor plan. So, you know, I wonder if, I don't know whether this is a, you know, a wall that could be removed, but if it could be, would that be something that would make the house more appealing for you?
Thank you.
Okay. What do you think?
Well, right now, I think for me, it sounds like a lot, but I know as you go to do it day by day and you knock it all off, it's not going to be as hard. If you're detail oriented and you really, you know, have a good eye for that kind of stuff, I think eventually it's just going to become second nature.
Come from contribution. Also know that 50% of the success of an open house is the prep, what you've done. Then once you've done the prep, you've done your CMA, you know where to put the signs, the directional signs, you get there early enough, turn on the lights, blah, blah, blah. Then just enjoy. Then just enjoy. You're about to meet some nice people. Just make sure you get all the forms, COVID, you know, you got to do that, have them sign in case there's any need for contact tracing, but just have a good time. You're going to meet some nice people in this profession, guys. You're going to meet some really nice people. I'm still in touch with people that I worked with my first year, and we're talking 1986. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
So,
great profession.
One thing that I added for sure for the next open house is I created a sign in Canva, and I'm gonna laminate it that way in case it's inclement weather. That says, you know, an agent is showing the home. Please wait outside in case there's too many people inside, because just everyone be mindful that you can't have more than, I think, 2 families at a time inside
That's a
looking
good
at the
point,
home.
Stella. That's a good point.
And
Now,
so that
yeah, that's a good one. Understand as the weather gets colder and it's harder for someone to wait outside, just make that message as soft as you can in these times of COVID with maximum occupancy.
yes, that's what I did. I try to make it as kind and as polite as possible. And I also, I'm considering just adding my cell phone number on it and saying, just text me when you're here and I'll let you know if you want to wait in the car. I mean, I'll have
That's
2 different.
Yeah, and that's a good way to get someone's cell phone number. Say, I'll text you when it's time. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's
It's-
one
it's
thing
a
I'm
juggling
considering.
match. Huh?
Yeah,
And
that's one thing
why
I'm
some
considering to
realtors
do.
will have 2 people do an open house so that you could have the opportunity to co-host. You might not be hosting by yourself, but you'll co-host, which is a great opportunity because you get to watch someone else, a pro. I encourage you all to drive around to open houses on Saturdays and Sundays. Attend them as a visitor. Always identify yourself as, hey, I'm a realtor with KW, catching up on the inventory. And just see how someone does an open house. See the directional signs, see the handouts, get some ideas. See did they stage the house? How does the house look? You know, when you go into a store like Nordstrom's or Neiman, what happens to your senses? Tell me.
Well, it smells good and it's visual,
Smells good.
looks good, smells good,
The
inviting.
lights are on, there's soft music. Well, create that same marketing experience in the home. You know, sometimes realtors will bring a diffuser to make a nice smell. I've known realtors who will boil cinnamon sticks on the stove. Just be real
good idea.
careful, guys. Make sure that water doesn't boil down. Okay.
So on
So
Sunday,
that people come in and it smells good and it looks good. They get it, you know, they get euphoric.
so this coming Sunday, the open house that I'm doing is a very antique home. It's a colonial, My nice way of saying the furniture is probably from the 1920s. It's a very like has a lot of character, but it's I'm trying to think of sprucing it up and making it look
Okay.
friendly for different types of families. I'm just not sure of creative ways that
Well,
to do that.
first of all, you're not the listing agent, so it's a real delicate dance. So you really
Yeah.
can't. But what you do is you point out the bones of the house. Isn't there a
Yes, okay.
HGTV show that says Good Bones? So you point
I
out
like
the
that.
side room, you point out the hardwood floors, maybe it's plaster walls, all those really neat things. Picture rails, large windows. So you take their attention off the furniture. They're not buying the furniture, and remind them of that if you have to. So I know this might
Of
be
course, yeah,
distracting.
that's a
but
good idea.
Good news is you're not buying the furniture, okay?
Yeah.
Introduce some humor. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you, thank you. Now tomorrow at 10 o'clock, John Genovese is doing script practice and role play. I encourage all of you to do that. Yeah, and yep, there's no orientation tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay,
Patty, I have a question.
I will reschedule it.
I have a question for you regarding today. A lot of us are in that Ignite class, right? Which goes from 9 to 12. And immediately we go into Nick Baldwin's class. And I found it, I don't know if anybody else did, I don't know if Stacy was on it. I know Nabila was on it.
I was.
No time to have lunch, no time to really take a break. And you're sitting in front of the computer for 4 hours. I was starting to like lose.
Yeah, so. Ups, you froze, Cheryl. And my thing is, you have a problem with that? Plan ahead, excuse yourself for 5 minutes, make a PB&J and walk around your computer.
I didn't hear that. My computer froze. I'm sorry.
Maybe it's good you didn't. I said, so what's your problem? Plan ahead, make a PB&J, walk around your computer. I mean,
Well,
come on.
I don't know, sometimes, and I'm older than a lot of them, but I find sitting in front of a computer for like 4 hours just
Then get up.
exhausting.
Then get up.
Okay.
Take it off video.
Okay.
Take it off video and get up. Walk around, do whatever. Sure.
Yeah,
All right.
sometimes on those trainings, I'll put headphones on and I'll take a long walk. Like Nick's training today, I think we could have gotten by with just like having the camera off and using a little phone and
Oh,
just
that would've
walking
been-
around.
That would have been a good idea, Laura. I didn't even
Because
think
well,
of that.
I teach on the computer all day long. So a lot of times when I do these evening trainings, that's how I do it. I just put headphones on and I walk.
Okay.
There you
Yeah,
go. That was a nicer answer than mine.
Well, because I agree, I can't stand sitting in front of the computer, and it's just like nowadays it's all day long.
Yeah, yeah.
And let me tell you, once your business gets going and you're in an active market, I'm going to tell you to have food in your car, like granola bars and water and stuff. Because there are going to be times you go from one appointment to the next, to the next, to the next, and you can't let your energy drop.
I'm used to that. It's really just the sitting in
The
front of the
sitting.
it's trying to like, you're trying to take everything in and you're taking notes and, like, oh my God, all the information. I guess that's more of what it is. My brain's older. It doesn't know how to study
Would you
anymore.
Stop it. Stop it. All right, guys, on that note, I'm going to go. I wish you a good evening. You're funny, Cheryl. I wish you a good evening, and yeah, next Wednesday we'll do it. Tomorrow, good luck with the script practice. You got the dates. It's not every Tuesday and Thursday because of John's schedule. We will get on a more regular now with the holidays and stuff and vacations, and you're doing push. I know David Radney just finished it. He's going to be starting it again in January. I spoke with him today. So you guys are being well taken care of. All right.
That's for
I'm
sure.
also thinking of doing one class a week, and it might be a repeat of this class, but make it available for during the day. We'll see.
Great.
Cool.
When is the next Ignite start?
Offhand, I don't know, but Hal had said it is, rotate. It just keeps going. Now with the holidays, that may affect that somewhat.
I think he said to us that it was starting up again in January.
Okay.
like
And
David.
Ignite is not just for beginners. Ignite is intended for anyone who has fewer than 16 transactions. So you go back and you say, oh, you know, I need to practice working with buyers. I need to revisit that section. Or, oh, I feel like I have a listing that may be coming up. Let me, you know, attend win-win with sellers. So this is a resource that you constantly revisit. You don't just say, hey, I'm done, it's basic, and I know everything. You know better than that.
They have
I think Ignite is great.
CP. the
What,
BCP
Nabila?
The YouTube page, the BCP YouTube page, they have Ignite, all those lessons there, so you can start now, Stella, if you wanted to.
There you go. Go to the YouTube. Okay.
Oh, I couldn't figure out how to get onto the YouTube page.
It's connected on every daily update. Was it not
Oh,
clear?
it's
that-
connected on like the emails you send me, it's on there?
It's on Colleen's emails and
Okay.
there's big
All right.
print. You know, it's big print that we miss. Trust me, and I'm making fun of the same things I do. And it says, if you miss any of the sessions, click here and it'll take you right.
Oh, okay. All right. No, that's typical me. Thank you.
No. Trust me, you don't have a monopoly on that trait. So, all right, guys, my
Thank
pleasure to
you.
work with all of you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Patty.
Thank you so
Patty,
much.
thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good class.
Good
Good night,
Right.
everyone. Thank you so much.